Now, what started off as a peaceful protest on the streets of Chile has turned into a bit of a clash between demonstrators and the riot police as thousands of people marched to honor the victims of Pinochet's dictatorship. Now, the march came ahead of the Allende coup anniversary, which toppled the government of Salvador Allende and also brought Pinochet to power. Now, Augusto Pinochet had ruled the South American nation with an iron fist between the years 1973 till 1990, and the protests began in central Santiago with many demonstrators carrying red carnations and also holding photographs of the loved ones who were killed or disappeared during the Pinochet years.
Marcho porque es un día de homenaje por tantas personas desaparecidas, tanto torturados, tanto ejecutados políticos que hoy día no están con nosotros.
Now, the protests, of course, grew violent when the march reached a memorial of Pinochet's victims at the city's General Cemetery. Clashes broke out at the cemetery's entrance, with protesters hurling stones and the police also responding with tear gas and water cannons. Several arrests have been made after the protests, but there have been no reports of any injuries. More than 3,000 people were killed or disappeared during the Pinochet era, but only about 100 cases have in fact been investigated. The people also were reportedly thrown into the sea or had their bodies blown up by dynamite to erase evidence of these crimes. Meanwhile, Hong Kong continues to be on the boil despite the withdrawal of the extradition bill, and it's now the 14th straight weekend of protests in the city. Anger amongst the MTR Corporation and the Hong Kong police has reached its boiling point. The protesters were seen trashing the central MTR station in the city. Now, Hong Kong police also have increased security checks on people travelling to the city's international airport. They're looking at passports and flight tickets in order to prevent protesters from gathering for demonstrations, and even marched to the US consulate in an attempt to drum up international support for their movement. Now, the demonstrators could be seen holding US flags and also called upon US President Donald Trump to quote-unquote liberate the Chinese-ruled city of Hong Kong. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has urged the Chinese government to exercise restraint over the protesters.
Now, with regard to Hong Kong, we support the freedom of peoples around the world to peaceably assemble and express their concerns about their government. And I think with regard to the Chinese government, we would obviously urge restraint and not to act, and to kind of sit down and talk with the protesters and resolve the differences. That is the best way forward.
All right, so that was the Secretary of Defense of the United States stating that the administration should sit down with the protesters to resolve the differences. Meanwhile, in fresh clashes on Saturday, the police fired tear gas to try clear the protesters outside of a subway station. The demonstrators also lit up fires and set up roadblocks in order to prevent the police from dispersing the crowd. Protesters tore down signs, broke turnstiles, set fire onto the street and also drew graffiti on the walls.